Visual Vengeance brings yet another straight-to-video, shot-on-video, shot high 8, actually, DIY indie video store nugget to Blu-ray in really crazy deluxe packaging. This is the Paranormal from 1998. This is directed by, written by, and starring Todd Norris with Gina Tarantino, Audrey Crabtree, and Lisa Wingar. And it has optional English subtitles, and it is presented from an analog source. The director reveals at one point in the extras that he had the camera that he shot these on, and some of his personal possessions were stolen in an apartment break-in, and the thieves like made off with the masters for these. So some of this is from like a high 8 dub. So it doesn't look perfect. It looks like an old rental tape, or more likely it looks like a copy of an old rental tape. It looks as good as it's possibly going to look, so put it that way. So it's 4:3, shot on video, and it is set in a movie theater. And that's pretty much all I needed to see to have I'm 60 to 70% of the way there, it being shot in a movie theater. So it is shot in a beautiful old downtown single screen movie theater, still doing the tail end of the 35 millimeter era, or getting to be the tail end of the 35 millimeter era. So you get a lot of shots of the beautiful lobby and the neon marquee and the projection booth and just rows of film reels. And if you're like me and you're into that sort of thing, this movie, beyond what the actual story is, gives you all of that to enjoy in this time and in place. Because, when a movie is low budget, they can't really dress a set a lot. They can't really build a set. That they just work with whatever was there. And that's one of the things I love about a lot of older movies that were done sort of on the cheap or with limited funds. You really get a snapshot of what life was like in that era beyond what the story is. So what the story is here is that Todd Norris, who's a young paranormal investigator at a local university, is trying to get funding to fund some theories he has, and he winds up being called in to investigate this paranormal activity at a local movie theater that I was going on and on about earlier. And basically what goes on in this movie is that they find that, I'm not going to tell you the whole story, they find that for some reason, some phenomena is going on where the line between what's going on screen and off starts to blur. Like, things in the movie can come out of the screen, and things in reality might be able to go into the movie. So that's kind of what we're working with here. And again, made on the cheap, relatively well shot for its resources, relatively well written. The performances aren't too bad. And a lot of times these straight to video, shot on video things can be really rough. Some of what Visual Vengeance puts out, for me, is a bit of a chore to get through. And I always have that barrier of shot on video when I was growing up, and you'd rent a movie and the box, convinced you to rent it, and it would be shot on video, and it felt less than, it felt cheap, it felt fake. Even though video should make something feel more real, everything that's the aspect of a narrative film to me feels less real when you see it on video. I don't know. It's a thing I have a hard time getting over. But in this one, I was able to a degree, because it's really pretty well made for what it is. It's probably unintentionally funny at times. It's a little rough around the edges, but what they're able to do with very little resources, shot over the course of, I guess, a couple of years, is impressive. It does have some really good extras that illuminate, tell you more about how it was made and make you appreciate that it got finished. I always say every film that gets finished and released, let alone re-released in a deluxe edition like this decades later, my salute to the filmmakers. And it was the Englewood Theater in Independence, Missouri, which apparently I did look it up to see if it was still there. I looked it up to see when it closed, and apparently the building, as of fairly recently, was still there, but has just been laying dormant for a long time, unfortunately, as is the case for so many single screen theaters. They either get mutilated by being chopped up into a bunch of little screens, or they get turned into a regional performing arts center, or they get turned into a church, or they just get renovated out of being a theater at all and it becomes retail space. So extras on this: commentary with director Todd Norris, a different commentary with director Todd Norris and composer Paul Roberts, 2023 cast and crew interviews, the Paranormal Channel 5 bumpers. This is from when the film premiered on like a local arts showcase TV show, and it is from the TV premiere of this film, and it's about 3.5 minutes of basically the director just talking about making the movie. 11-minute blooper reel from a softer VHS source. Deleted scenes also from an earlier source. Might have even been the original tape release for both of these, because they have a similar title font that comes up, which he points out is as close as he could get to the John Carpenter font original script excerpts. It runs 37 seconds, but you can pause it and take however long you want to read it. Storyboard gallery, 1.5 minutes. Similarly, you can pause that and look at it. It's kind of small on the screen because it's basically like a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with a lot of little storyboards written on it. You get short films from the director. The Closet, which is 5 minutes and boldly uses music from Goblin's score to Suspiria under the opening and closing credits. One called L, that's 3 minutes, which I thought was rather funny. Night of the Growling, 9 minutes, which looks to be shot on film and very Sam Raimi-esque, very think crime wave comedic Sam Raimi-esque. Parallax, which is 5 minutes. And then you get the visual vengeance trailer for this film, The Paranormal. So let's look at the packaging, because this is really impressive. So you get a newly commissioned slipcase cover. You get the front and the back there. This is also region free, so this disc will play anywhere in the world that you pop it in, anywhere that people want to seek out the paranormal. So you go there, wow, there is an alternate cover, very dynamic, front and back there. And then you get into the nitty gritty. I'm going to pull all this stuff out and show it to you one at a time. So you've got a reversible sleeve with the slipcase artwork on the disc. And the reversible sleeve is usually like the original tape box cover art, so you can look at it however you want. And then you get the tuck-ins. Visual Vengeance very rarely doesn't do something like this. So you get, based on William Castle's 13 Ghost, Ghost Finder, safe for viewing most entities. And you can look through that. It's basically really hard to look through. So, and then you have instructions on the back, which is really just a nice little ballyhoo gimmick. You get their patented video store-esque stickers there, which are fun. You get a little insert for Z is for Zombie, which is the fake film within a film that you see throughout the film, little mini poster there. And then you get a mini poster with, again, newly commissioned artwork that you haven't seen everywhere else on this for The Paranormal. So hats off to director Todd Norris for getting this film out and getting a loving edition like this of it. Not for everybody. The straight-to-video DIY stuff is probably will put most normal viewers off, but I know there's a hardcore fan base who loves this kind of stuff. If this is a film that you were a fan of before, this is the version you want to have of it, because, I mean, obviously, if I haven't convinced you by now that you want this, I'm not going to. It's a fun movie. It's not a great movie, but it is very impressive for what was accomplished with the resources. And if you're like me and you love old movie theaters, it's got a lot to offer there. So from Visual Vengeance on Blu-ray is 1998's The Paranormal.